Hello, and thanks for tuning into our episode of Formscan, recording this on Wednesday, the Wednesday before Aintree. It's around 2 o'clock now, so we have Friday declarations. We'll be guessing a little bit with Saturday, but I think so far it looks a really, really strong card. Delighted to be joined by Mark Boylan as well to preview this one. Mark, I think it's probably as good an Aintree festival as I can remember anyway. The grade ones kind of the whole way through the 3 days look really, really strong.
Big time, Ellie. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think, as a punter, there's different angles there in terms of horses that have been on the go through the year, horses that have gone to Cheltenham, had hard races, maybe on more testing ground than we would usually have at Cheltenham. And I think Willie Mullins, it's pretty much a team of it. I heard you speaking about earlier in the week about Willie's team coming over here, and it does feel like a stronger team quality-wise and quantity, I think, than you might usually see from Willie at Aintree. And you never know if you got the hop of the ball, the big one on Saturday in the National itself. It could be game on for a crack at the title. So listen, a lot of water to go on the bridge before then, but really looking forward to seeing how it all shapes up.
Yeah, for sure. If things kind of slow his way in a couple of the grade ones, you'll be really looking to see how these ones run in the national, because about 700,000 behind the leaders now in the English Trainers title. So it'll be interesting to follow that kind of little side story the whole way through the festival as well. But we'll crack straight into the race. We'll try and keep it maybe fast if we can, but we're trying to do the 3 days in one podcast. So we'll go into the first race first, the 145. The Manifesto Novice Chase. I suppose interesting field this one. 5 declared. We've got the first 2 from the Turners at Cheltenham reopposing again. Grey Dawning and Jenny's Destiny. Grey Dawning, I suppose, odds on here to confirm that pretty decisive 2-length victory at Cheltenham. Colonel Harry was behind them in 6th, maybe a little bit disappointing that day. 88 Hump, an interesting one, and again there, Foodie Mullins, like we mentioned. He was behind Gaelic Warrior in the Arkle at the festival, stepping up to 2.5 miles here. Blow Your Wad is the fresh horse in the field then, hasn't been seen since winning the Pendle at Kempton earlier back in February time. So interesting field here, Mark. What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, coming into this race, kind of got scars on my body before from looking at Cheltenham horses coming here. Stage Star last year bombing out, having won at Cheltenham. Fused Raffles was second in the Turners a couple of years ago. I think he pulled up here too, although he may have burst, I can't remember exactly. But I just kind of have it in head that I'd like to have something a little bit fresh coming in here, but I'm not really getting that option with the field we've got. But Tom's probably at the prices. I think he's probably the one you kind of have to take a chance on. Just Cheltenham, it's now becoming the theory that you kind of might have had before Cheltenham that it might be his track. That seems to be kind of growing. I just thought the 2 horses in the Turners had a particularly hard race. And their style of racing, it could suit Tom's if he was to be ridden in a similar manner to the Ark. I thought he kept going in fairness as well, enough to suggest this trip is at least worth a try. I'm not going to claim that he's my favourite horse now to see in this division. I think it's not a super division between 2 miles and 2.5 miles this year, the novice chasers in general. But I do think he's probably just a bit of value for Willie Mullins. And I think as well as that, Willie, this time of year, you have a little bit of confidence. There's petrol in the tank. When you see what he can do at Punchestown, I'm just going to like the angle going forward, hopefully, for this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I was kind of with you on that one, to be honest. Like you said, Cheltenham probably doesn't really show his best at the track, but still, I thought it was a good run in the Arkle to finish 3rd after things not really going his way. Ground getting a bit soft might be a small bit of a worry, but I'd say he didn't stay out too badly when he met Gaelic Warrior over 2 mile forward in Limerick. He was actually slightly closer than in the Arkle, so I'm going to might clutch his straws a little bit with that one. But like you said, the 2 in the Turners had a hard race. They kind of slipped the field as well a bit that day, which might maybe flattered them slightly, putting away a nice bit there, kind of turning home bit. So it is an interesting one there. 7-2 doesn't look a bad price at all. Tim Paul Townend's on board. We want to do 220 then. Brutal's Juvenile Hurdle, grade 1 event. Really interesting one here. Sergino for Nicky Henderson, 8-11 there in the early prices. I suppose the word here, Mark, is the form of the Henderson stable. Would you be willing to oppose Sergino, I suppose, just based on the fact that I think Nicky has had maybe 8 runners in the last 21 days, I think 1 winner. There's still that question mark over them, I suppose, and maybe it might be safer to watch the first 2 running and see how they get on.
You're totally taking my idea as well, I'd be really with you. Like, I mean, that's a race like this, it's a pity because you'd like to go and approach. If you're maybe braver than I am, you might try and find an angle, but to me, I can't back a Nicky Henderson horse alone at 1 at 8-11 at the minute. If he goes and wins, it's a sort of knock-on scenario where John Bond really becomes interested later in the week, where Shishkin becomes a big player later in the week. But I think if you're a punter here, I think you're going to learn a lot. I'm not really sure if I'm willing to pay the price to find out this lesson. If he didn't fire, Khalif de Burle is the one I like, because I actually do. I like his profile. I like what he's done. Paul Nicholls keeping him fresh for Aintree, very, very good at Kempton. Cargesi, she's a really likeable mare, and I thought she ran very, very well in the Triumph. But tough Triumph now, and on that ground, Margeborough, proper stayer. That's a tough one to turn around from. But you will say, well, he's done it before. Apple's Jay with a filly who's been placed in the Triumph and then came here and put on a show. I'm not expecting the same thing here. For us, she could show up well, but it's really, like, of all the Grade 1s to start off the week, I'll be watching this one very, very intently to guide the rest of it, but I don't know if it'll be parting with cash. Sardino is the best of them, but you need to be ballsy, wouldn't you?
You probably would be alright. Cargie's, like you said, she had enough race in the Triumph, didn't she? Put it all up to Margeborough. Fairness, it was a big performance. Like, I'd say if she came there at her best, I'd say she'd put up to Sardino, even if he was firing fully. She's a really good mare, I think, but she'd have to settle better, and she'd have to kind of, I suppose, fast enough-ish turnaround, I suppose, for a 4-year-old mare after having a hard race at Cheltenham. On soft ground as well here as well might be a little bit of a worry. I thought Nürburgring was kind of interesting. I'm not sure, is it owners influencing, like was JJ riding with the double green, or did he pick into that before Nürburgring? But I thought he was a little bit eye-catching in the Triumph as well. Danny Mullins, first time on board, it's the first time cheap pieces there as well. I thought 10-1, maybe slightly interesting at a bit of a bigger price if you want to take that angle into it. But we'll go on to the next race then as well, the Bowl, I suppose, one of the feature races on the day. I'm not sure is the Hurdle or the Bowl officially the feature race, but I thought this was a real cracker. I'm really excited to see what Corbett's Cross can do stepping up into open company. But realistically, he has a little bit to find on official ratings, I suppose. Shishkin, the highest rated horse in the field, 173, 3-1 for Nicky Henderson, and won this last year, of course. And Jerry Colombe, who had a massive race in the Cheltenham Gold Cup. He's had, I suppose, not the hardest season in terms of Gold Cup horses. He was freshened up before the big one for Gordon Elliott. Was a brilliant winner at this festival last year. So he's 11-8 in there with Jack Kennedy on board. Mark, who are you looking out for in this one?
Yeah, I can see we're coming from with the case of Jerry. It's not been a hard year, but the Gold Cup I thought was a brilliant Gold Cup to watch. I thought it came to the boil with the right horses, albeit it's a shame faster slow didn't get there with Ryder on his back. But I do think it was a big effort now to empty the tank and a turnaround here. Like, you look back at the last few years, like Shishkin won this last year after coming from a Ryanair. Clandazobo, the previous 2 years, he had skipped Cheltenham both years. And the previous run, he came by and unseated at the first in the Gold Cup. So it's not like, and you look at horses who have come from running in the Gold Cup, conflated Aplutar last year, Isenyor, okay, the last couple had things not unfold their way at Cheltenham, but beaten here. Protectorat was stuffed after him in third in the Gold Cup. Native River, similar. Even I think Clandazobo and Bristol de Mai another year were here after running well, third and fifth in the Gold Cup and got beaten. So I kind of have that in my head, and a little bit of freshness would be nice, but it's not really on the cards. So I think, like I said, if Sergino, if he was to go and run eyeballs out in the previous race, I think Shishkin can be a big player here. But it's you could. It's
like quite a question marks about it, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can't fancy him at all until you probably see how Sergino goes. So it's a difficult one in that sense. I think if we did have a Sergino blowout and the jury was remaining out with the Henderson runners, I actually would be really tempted to have a look at Corbett's Cross, because I think the style in which he won, I don't think it was an overly stamina sapping 3 mile 6. Just visually, there were a few horses I thought in that first day that motored up the hill like he did, really quickened. I think he's got class. We know he's got gears from having won over 2 miles or 1.7 at Naas, beating found 50 over hurdles. He's a versatile horse. You just wonder, is it all starting to come together for him now? And that experience he's built through the year. He's danced a few decent dances in a good company and novice company. I think this year's the stay in novice chase and end of it with Fact to File, it looks a relatively okay bunch with Corbett's Crossing better in the shorter distances. Listen, it's a little bit on trust, and maybe JP is and the team there trying to spread their having novices around, but we know JP loves his feet, and I think he's got a big chance for Corbett's Crossing.
Yeah, he's kind of, I suppose, testing his Gold Cup credentials earlier. I suppose he might have Fact to File and this lad in there next year. I've kind of been his biggest fan, I suppose, since last season, even the start of this season. I thought he would be one of the best staying novice chasers, I suppose. Look, he has a bit to find, but like you said, like he won that race in Shetland doing handstands, and I'd say like throughout the year, kind of the way they were riding him, maybe it was just to kind of teach him a bit. Like, he was chopped out a few times. He had been a bit keen. Jumping had been a little bit question marks, and like you said, like he seemed to just put it all together at Cheltenham last time. So look, I think Jerry will be hard to beat in here, but like you said, the Cheltenham race does take its effect. Corbett's Cross could be the one picking up the pieces. I think the jury's kind of always out for Shishkin, to be honest. Whether Henderson's horses are in form or not, I can never get him right. I think whenever I back him, he either doesn't
Will he not start even? Yeah.
He probably won't even start if I back him. So if anyone fancies him, this good news is I won't have my money on him anyway. So we'll go on to the next race. Anyway, the 3:30, the Aintree Hurdle, another cracker in here. Bob Ollinger is the representative from the Henry de Bromhead team. Skip Shelton, this looks like his optimum trip. It was a really good one, I thought, last time as well in the Irish Champion Hurdle behind State Man. But some good opposition here as well. Willie Mullins firing another really strong target at Aintree. Impere Pass, another one fresh, hasn't gone to Cheltenham. I think Willie kind of admitted maybe they didn't make the right decision with him this year. He probably wasn't really that champion hurdle quality, but this 2.5 miles over hurdles probably could bring out the best in him before he goes chasing next year. Are you a Bob Ollinger fan? Are we looking to take him on, mate?
Oh, it's really tough. It's really tough, and I'm not meaning to sit in the fence at all. You know, there's a pound to think between these horses and official ratings, and I think that could be fairly accurate. Like, I mean, Tiupu run earlier season with Imperial Pass. I just think on the balance of that, knowing that Willies were kind of needing the run at that stage of the year, having seen Ballyburn get beaten, having seen Factify get beaten, and seeing how these horses then turned the real corner as the year went on, I'm nearly just willing to give Imperial Pass another chance. Just Bob Ollinger, I really like the way they've campaigned him this year. I think this is, you mentioned this is his trip, but I just feel Imperial Pass, we just haven't got to see him at the Boyle this year. And, you know, I thought for the run at Christmas against State Man, in a small field race, he still managed to find a little bit. He didn't get a totally smooth run. Then they tried to make the run and win it, which I would have been an advocate for at the Dublin Race Festival. We just cannot. He doesn't want to lead this horse. He didn't want to know a thing about it once he got to the front. So I like the fact that backed off and come here. I think you don't know quite how good this fella is yet. That's the only. Maybe I'm a bit too forgiving him. Maybe it's a good or a bad trip, but you don't know his ceiling just yet. Whereas I think Bob Ollinger has a good standard. We know where his standard is. There's a pal between the minute on official rating. I just wonder, could Imperial Pass have to step up again, even on the Tiupu form earlier in the year with a hell of a run, even if on the day he would have come away a little disappointed.
That's a fair point, to be fair. Like Imperial Pass, like, I suppose thinking about him last year, like he was kind of being put into that superstar category after winning the 2.5 mile novice race at the festival. Look, I'm probably side with Bob myself, just because I thought his last one over hurdles, when he was behind Bob and State Man at Lepton, look, like you said, going out in front probably wasn't didn't suit him. He didn't want to be there at all, but he just kind of went backwards a bit that day, and I'd be just a little bit worried. Just being a little bit worried about that. Can he bounce back from it? Look, he's been freshened up since, but I just think Bob Ollinger kind of finally found his trip, finally found his discipline. He's kind of been threatened about being maybe like a weak finisher in the past, but I don't really think that's true when conditions are good for him on the day. I think he sees out his races really well. Like I said, I was impressed with him in Leopardstown last time, so I'd be slightly in the side of Bob Ollinger, but I take that point on board completely. Imperial Pass 160 now, but 6-year-old could have any amount of improvement left in him.